hardest instruments in the world, the French horn. Yeah. Instead of even though it was taken after my dad, I still could have played the trumpet, but I was like, nope, I'm going to go for the challenge. I'm going to go for the French horn. Not the best idea. I was able to make advanced chair and advanced class once, and I went to a competition and achieved a superior rating as a group, which was a fun experience, but I wasn't the best player, and which really put me back. Even though it was something I wanted to do, I felt I wasn't good enough, and which brought me down. I tried to volunteer in the cafeteria and help pass out food and stuff. Well, that brought me joy for a little bit, but then everyone made fun of me being for a worker, and especially having to leave early from class to go to the cafeteria to get prepared to start serving food. So I tried different things to try and fit in, which never was successful. Middle school was not that much fun. I struggled with organization, failed classes because of in-class work, but still passed all my tests like my dad said. Very frustrating for me and my parents, but the most frustrating thing was by that time, my parents just thought I was lazy and I didn't want to do the work, and I was purposely not turning it in so I would fail the classes instead of actually just buckling down and getting it done, because they were helping me with the homework. They know it was getting done, and it was very sometimes eventful for homework. But the one thing that always got to me was the tests were supposed to be a big chunk of your grade. How can I pass all the tests, no study guide, no cheating, no nothing, learning the materials, but still failing the class? That was the biggest kick for me. Most of the teachers weren't very accommodating. They rather just push me aside and just treat me less of a lesser student than anyone else. That I was barely even there. They didn't even really give me good directions on the work when I didn't even understand the assignment. They would just say, I already gave you the directions, or were you not listening? Are you too stupid to listen? So that was not very interesting, but they all said it was a pleasure in class, but apparently they were just doing that to make me themselves look good. But it came to the point where in middle school that I started to have a mental breakdown, and I started writing on one of my folders that I want to die over and over. And the little teacher aide came by and saw what I was writing and took the folder and ran to the teacher and was like, what do we do? And I was sent to the counselor, and I was told them, and then it's like, none of my teachers are doing anything. None of my teachers are helping. So we had to reevaluate my IEP, and then right before graduation, so from middle school, so there wasn't much to do, but it was a failed middle school life. High school, more activities. I found a passion and it was a class called Stagecraft, where we built sets for plays. We put up the orchestra shells. We put together, different coat rack. We built coat racks for all the costumes and stuff. And it was a fun class. I enjoyed it thoroughly. And I learned how to do light tech. Oh my God. I really loved it. And I actually pissed my parents off for signing up for several of the plays and spending more time out there than at home doing my work. Like I said, one of my teachers, I had a math teacher that was very different. He was a great guy. He was actually the basketball coach. and he actually took the time to learn how to teach me math. Now, I was in a special class called Math Standards. And basically what it is, they only teach you what is on the Arizona Instrument of Measure Standards, or the AIMS test. So whatever's in the math part, that's what they taught you all year. And I got good grades in that class. I at least passed with a C or better. But when it came down time for the AIMS test for the sophomores, passed it the first time with flying colors. First big accomplishment in high school, actually passing the math part the first time. And that was because of my great teacher, who actually helped me when I became involved in sports medicine for the med club at the high school. My dream since I was a kid was to become a chef. I used to play with pans and water for hours, and I learned as soon as I was able to reach the stove, actually stand at the stove, I cooked with my parents, mostly baking. I went to the East Valley Institute of Technology for Culinary Arts, but the program was like Hell's Kitchen. And I had 5 Gordon Ramsays in my face every day. After 3 semesters, they didn't want me there. I didn't want to be there that much. And I spent more time in the guidance office trying to talk to the counselors to try and work through my issues, because my school counselors, I was friends with her. She never really had time for me. And it would take her several days to get to me. Even if I put I told them to put on a little slip, emergency, it would still take a couple days for her to get back to me. Very successful in sports medicine, part of high school. The first time I actually fit in the school was, ironically, with the teachers, the coaches, and the administration. I was friends with all of them. And I actually was so involved in it by first time. I was only supposed to volunteer 10 hours. I ended up doing almost every day for an entire semester, and stayed there on spring break. So I flourished in it, and it actually saved me from mental breakdowns several times, because it kept me busy, because there was always something to do in the training room, or walking around the different athletes' coolers and stuff, and making sure they're full, and they had water bottles and stuff like that. Making ice packs and all sorts of stuff. Oops, sorry. But sophomore year came with the diagnosis of bipolar 2. And new medications with therapy and counseling. Junior, I saw him for 2 years, and my junior year was still dark for me with depression and suicide attempts, but my senior year was even darker, because I became self-medicating with street drugs, and I spent close to $30,000 in 2.5 months. And so I was failing all my classes because I was skipping them, not doing the assignments, not caring about the tests or anything, but because of my case manager challenging me, and who really, we never saw eye to eye. And you ever had those people that you just have, you work with or know, that just know how to press your buttons, and you just want to yell at them, but you can't out of respect because you work with them, or they're older than you? Yeah, he was one of them. So he really, really pressed my buttons. So after overdosing on ecstasy, he was like, well, you're failing all your classes. I'll see you next year. I'll make sure I'm your case manager, and you're not going to have any classes you want. It's all going to be my classes. And I took that as a challenge. I buckled down, and by a margin of grace, with some luck, probably from my guardian angels up above, I passed all my classes with my finals. Now I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about the teachers that really made a difference for me. Mr. Legal, my fourth grade teacher, the one who had me play throw a football one day a week. He really inspired me to keep going and try to keep being social, trying to keep working on what I need to do. My freshman English teacher, encouraged me to learn how to speak my mind, how to, speak up for myself and, express my feelings in writing. And because of that, I was able to win the class elections, and he said he would vote for me if I ever ran for presidency. But, hey, it could happen. Like I said, my math teacher, both of them, they were ones that really tried to find a way for me to learn and communicate with me so that way I can succeed in life, and gave me great inspiration. My best friend in my high school years was the nurse. Her name was Pat Schreiner. We used to have conversations about everything and anything, and every time she would just instantly knew if I was having a bad day, and she would write me passes to go back late just so we could talk. And she really understood the struggles. My health education coordinator really took time to really get to know me and made it fun for tests, and also gave me hope for the future when I was in drugs and coming out of it. But most of all, the biggest person that really gave me the inspiration was my counselor. She took a while to get back to me. She wasn't always available, but when she did, there was a few times when I broke down, she would cry with me. When I laughed, she laughed. She really, tried her best, and she would let me talk for a couple class periods, just so I can let it all out and try and get everything that was building up out so I would feel better. She was there. She always believed in me. She always encouraged me, through my anger management groups or through my sports medicine or my stagecraft. She always encouraged me, to do better things, that I would do good in the world. And, I may have had a dark period after high school, which I'm not going to get into. But over the last year or two, since my dad dragged me down to a peer program from NAMI and got me involved, and I actually volunteered to get involved after the peer program with the Inner Own Voice, which is speaking about my dark times. But the first time I did this program, let me put it this way, there was about 75 teachers there, and about 30 students per teacher. That's over 2,000 students per year. I just affected the life of, per year, 2,100. That's a lot. That's more that is a bigger self-accomplishment for me than I could achieve for a while. I never really thought of that until it really dawned on me when I had the entire class, the entire cafeteria full of teachers crying by the end. That is when it really impacted me. Currently today, I am making a recovery for myself. I am facing challenges of independent living, but I live in my own apartment, manage it, and I'm also been managing an online gaming community of over 300 people for 2 years. And I started with 3 people, and I built it up. I'm also planning to become a legal advocate for those with mental illness, and I look to be becoming more involved with the NAMI programs, to be involved with trying to break the stigma and hopefully, better some lives of the people that really need the support. Because without the few teachers that have made the big impact in my life, I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't have even graduated school. I wouldn't be on this realm anymore if it weren't for them. And I've actually thanked them later, and you know what they said? It was our pleasure. You were special to us as we were special to you. I was one of those ones that broke the stigma for them. That mental illness was bad and you had to stay away from it. I was one of those that broke the stigma without even realizing it. And I think I've rambled on long enough, so I'm going to turn it back over to David and let him continue with the Q&A.
Good job. Rourke does a good job, doesn't he? The occasion he was speaking about, which we were in a elementary school out in Litchfield Park, and it was elementary school teachers, and at some point Rourke began to thank them, as he thanked you here, for all they had done to help him, and he elaborated a little bit on why he felt so thankful to have these people in his life. And pretty soon I realized that all I could hear was sobbing, and he brought that entire group to tears just by thanking them. I suppose they've been thanked before, but I don't think they have ever been thanked the way Rourke thanked them. Okay, quickly now, we'll try to answer a few questions. I think maybe I need to do this. The people who are here that were not part of the presentation team, but who are here, we have Kelly from ADHS, is that right? Okay, what do you do there, Kelly?
I'm the state suicide prevention coordinator.
Thank you. A couple of people from Simpatico had asked to come. Did they make it? Simpatico people? No. Okay. We have from NAMI in Tucson, we have Judy, who is an education coordinator, and Norma, who is past president of the board there, and I have her permission to say what I'm about to say, which is, and she lost a child to suicide some years back. So when we talk a little bit, maybe we can generate some insight. Who else? Ralph is from Valley Presbyterian Church in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they're trying to put together, oh, that's Ralph back there, trying to put together programs that touch on mental illness for the congregation. Oh yes, and the most important one, Mary LaPaglia is the president of the board of the local NAMI NAMI Pinel Central. And there's a lot of information that she placed on the table out front and how you might reach her if you need to get involved with what they do. Okay. Okay, first of all, that's my turn a little bit. When Rorik began talking at the end about stigma, do you have a sense now of what stigma is all about and how it impacts real live human beings? I think he did an extremely eloquent job of explaining what stigma had meant to him. One of the things that we normally talk about is with schizophrenia or with other degrees that focus on psychosis, illnesses on psychosis, that the key is, we all think, is to keep away. If we have a first psychotic break, then the key is to avoid a second one, because successively it gets worse and worse and worse, and the best time to avoid a lifetime illness with schizophrenia is to avoid that first break. And so this is just all the more reason why we do what we do. Yes?
Can you explain what psychosis is, or what a psychotic break looks like?
I guess.
I know those are common terms, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know what they mean.
Well, it involves, sort of deterioration from what might be a normal to what is less and less normal, and where it involved our sorry, I have short-term memory problems myself. All right, so what are involved are no, I'm not going to try to do that. I can't manage it right now. You may.
I had heard the term many times and had absolutely no idea what it meant until I had a call from a psychiatric hospital where my son was. And the psychiatrist said, well, I'm pretty sure that he's got bipolar disorder, but he's clearly psychotic. And I sat there for a minute and I said, I have no idea what that means. And he said very simply, well, his reality is not the same as yours and mine. And I have encountered that frequently. I think that's the most succinct definition. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just throw it open now. If anyone has any questions that we might be able to answer for you, or anything? Hello? Crickets? Cue the crickets. Is it time to go home? I have a question.
One of the questions that I think a lot of us have is we send these kids off time and time again to seek mental health, either with their families. We send them to the emergency room, or we send them to an agency. We send them back to their doctors to get mental health services to help them with their illnesses, whether they're depressed, whether they're psychotic, whether they're bipolar, and they come back with little or no treatment. And when we talk with families, it's just this big circle that they get into also. Where do we send our kids? How can we help them? And the families are caught in that same circle too. They either can't afford it, or they can't get placed for weeks or months on end, or there's no one for them to turn to. Or they have to go all the way into North Phoenix or Central Phoenix to even see a psychiatrist or get some type of counseling. And I think that's where we're at in our district is where do we turn to send our children to get the help and know that our families are being supported also.
I don't know. It's hard work, all right? And, yeah.
We do have a family support meeting that meets twice a month in Ealing, and it's detailed in the yellow flyer.
Okay, you couldn't hear Mary, but I don't imagine, but what she was saying is that NAMI in Pinal County has a family support group in Eloy that meets, once a week? Twice a month. And the information describing it is out there. That's not quite what the question was about, but it is a something. It is a resource. And I wasn't really trying to be funny when I said I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Lots of people don't know what to do. It's very, very hard, first of all, to even find a psychiatrist that will take new clients, a child psychiatrist. And, you know, there are probably programs, but I don't know what they are. You know, Peggy and I teach a class called NAMI Basics, which touches on these questions of, you know, what kind of help is available and how do we get it. And the answer is that it's sometimes impossible to get it, and sometimes it is possible, but it takes a long time, and it's just awful. The services are just not there. Have any of you had an occasion to have the talk with the parents of a child that you think is symptomatic and maybe mentally ill? The talk is where you have to talk to the parents about the possibility. You know, the choice of language that you use when you're involved in that conversation is very, very subtle. I mean, you have to be very, very careful, and you want to talk to them. Well, once you have been through that, you can see how difficult it is to even talk about the problems with the people who are most deeply involved. You know, I don't know, the access and the public system is actually pretty good. I mean, it's a judgment, I suppose, but I think it's actually pretty good. But a lot of people, you know, it still means testing as how much your family's income is. And, you know, often people just don't qualify. And if they don't qualify, then what's left is the private system. And the private system, depending on what kind of insurance you have, may or may not be an opportunity for a family and for the child. So, I mean, it boils down to the same things it's always boiled down to, which is who can pay for it. That would be private. And it's possible. I mean, some people do. And who qualifies for it. And that would be the public system. And so, I mean, I don't know what to say. It's... Yes.
And my question, I guess, for you is, and the folks from Pinal County, is do you have that number? Do you depend on him?
No, and people in Phoenix don't depend on him. They use him, but they don't depend on him.
No, maybe I'm using the wrong words, but we do use him a lot in terms of, you know, if you've got a problem, this is a guy that works for the Mark Center. And he works for the Mark Center, which is located across the valley in various places. He happens to be downtown on like 2nd Avenue or something like that. And he says that he is not fully employed. I mean, he is employed by them, but he could handle more calls. And so my question was, for you folks down here in Pinal County and Tucson, do you use that telephone number at all? Is that... Anybody know who I'm talking about? No. Unbelievable. He's,
Yeah, he's not on the resource sheet. You can get them that number.
that's interesting. This state has a long ways to go.
Okay, and we do have someone here from Tucson, or two people here from Tucson, Judy and Norma. And Norma gave me permission to share with you that she lost a child to suicide some years back. And if we were to push this discussion in that direction, that she would be available to answer a few questions. Okay. Okay. Folks, thank you very much. If you're tired, we're tired.